This is Nate from Learning Design and Technology at Michigan State University. Today I'm going to provide a quick overview of the Adobe Connect Pro interface. And in this session we're going to cover a couple of different things. First is the process for creating a meeting in Adobe Connect Pro. And then the second is an overview of the user interface so you can be more familiar with the tool. As we get started here, this tutorial assumes that your MSU NetID is set to work with Adobe Connect Pro and that your computer has passed the system diagnostic check. So if you haven't done that yet, you're going to want to double back to steps 1 and 2 of the Connect in 5 webpage. Okay, let's begin by going to the Adobe Connect portal. In your web browser, type in connect.msu.edu. Once you've done that, click on the Launch Adobe Connect button. This will launch the Adobe Connect Pro homepage. Let's begin by clicking on the Meeting button here in the Create New navigation. And once that loads, you're going to see a new page where you're going to add in all the information about the specific meeting you're creating. So I'm going to call this Nate's Test Meeting. And then under Custom URL, I'd recommend using something that's really easy for your participants to remember. So in my case, I work for LearnDAT, so I'm going to add that there. And we'll call it LearnDAT1. Under the summary, this is just a quick summary providing a description to the people who will be participating. So you can leave that blank or add something there. Also add a start time, which includes a date as well as time and then the duration of the session. As I scroll down here, you notice language has a red asterisk. That's a required field. It auto sets to English, so I'm going to leave that there. And then under Access, you have 3 choices here. My recommendation would be to choose the third choice, which is anyone who has the URL for the meeting can enter the room. Now, under all circumstances, that may not work, especially if you have sensitive materials that you're going to be talking through in your class session. So that may vary. You may want to choose a different choice there, but for now, I'm going to use anyone who has the URL can enter this room. And then I'll scroll on down. Audio conference settings, it defaults to do not include any audio conference with this meeting. I'm going to just leave it as is for there, and then scroll down and click Next. Okay, the next window that loads is the Select Participants, and here along the left you're going to see a list of participants. You can scroll through manually and add participants that way by selecting one and then clicking Add, or you can search, and this searches the MSU database, so I could put in a name here and it'll search based on the word Dave, which I just entered. In this case though, I'm not going to add participants in this way. Just know that that feature is there for you if you'd like to invite users that way. Since I'm not going to add anyone that way, I'm just going to click Next, which will load our invitation page. And this is what you'd use to invite someone either by email or, as I'm going to explain in a sec, it might be easier, especially if you're inviting students, to use that custom URL that we designed in the first step. So what you can do if you are invited by email is just highlight this content, right-click, select Copy, and then you could paste that into Outlook or whatever email you're using. Or let's say you're using this for class. In that case, I would recommend using this custom URL that we made in the first step and just right-clicking on it and clicking Copy. What you can do then with this is to paste this as an announcement into Angel. Or, for example, maybe you're using D2L. In that case, why don't I just show you real quick how that works. It's not called announcements within D2L. They call them news items, which is this area that I'm circling right here. So in this case, I'm going to create a new news item. I can put a headline here, which might be Reminder Class Session Tonight. And then I can put a brief description under the content area. We will be meeting at 7 p.m. at the link below. And this is where you would paste that custom URL. There is that session. And when I scroll down and click Publish, that link will become available to my students. So when they go to the homepage, they're going to see, oh, hey, we have a meeting tonight, and this is the link I can use to get into that meeting. Okay, so once all of that is finished up, you've got your news item in the class. Don't forget to finish setting up the meeting in Adobe Connect Pro. So I'm going to jump back over to this tab, and to finish the process, I'm going to click on this Finish button, and there it is. It gives me a general receipt of all the meeting information that I put in to the process. So it gives me the title here, again, that custom URL, the date and time, as well as the duration. So if you're ready to take a look at the Adobe Connect Pro interface, go ahead and click Enter Meeting Room. Now here's my Adobe Connect Pro interface, and you can see it's broken down into a number of different rectangles and squares. Adobe calls these pods. So for example, the first pod here is the camera and voice pod. And when I click Start My Webcam, it's actually going to give me a little preview here, and you can see me waving. That's just sharing my webcam. So if you want to give a little more personal touch to your webinar or your synchronous session with your students, that's an easy way to do that. To stop sharing, I can just click on Stop My Webcam, and it returns back to normal. Now down below that, you see the attendee list. I am the host, so you can see me listed, and down below there's no one else participating because I'm the only one in the room right now, but your students or participants will be aggregated there. Down below that is the chat pod. You can use this area to make notes to your students and to begin a conversation there. And then down in the lower left-hand corner is the note pod. This is an area for notes just for you. Moving to the right here, this big area, this is the Share My Screen pod. And if I click on this triangle here, it gives me a number of different choices. The first being Share My Screen, which is my entire desktop. I can share applications, videos, websites, whatever's most convenient for that. Down below that, I can share individual documents. So if I'm sharing a PDF, I can certainly do that. And then the very bottom one is Share a Whiteboard. And there's an interactive whiteboard that will pop up, and you can make drawings and share that easily with your students. So the cool thing about Adobe Connect Pro is these pods are highly customizable. So right now I'm using the sharing window setup, but if I click on discussion, it changes my pods entirely for me. So there you can see the camera and voice is a little bit bigger, chat is much bigger, discussion notes is also bigger, but it adds a new pod which is called the poll pod. So if you want to do live polls during your synchronous sessions, you can certainly use that pod to do that. Next, I'm going to click on the collaboration button. You can see it changes my pod setup one more time, but adds a new pod down here called File Share. And this allows me to upload files to my whiteboard. It could be PowerPoint slides, videos, PDFs, whatever is most convenient for your class. So again, these are highly customizable. In fact, if you want to move them around, you can certainly do that. And like you normally would with a window, you can click and drag to expand or contract these windows as you go along. So that's a basic overview of pods within Adobe Connect Pro. One other thing that I'll point out, when you click on the meeting button here in the navigation, one thing that you should point out to your students is this audio setup wizard. And I highly recommend that you go through this audio setup wizard and also have your students do that as well. It checks audio, makes sure the microphone and speakers are working correctly so you can minimize some of those technical glitches that always seem to happen when you least expect it. So in this screencast, we've covered how to create a meeting as well as an overview of the Adobe Connect Pro interface. If you're looking for more information or support on Adobe Connect Pro, check out the MSU website, connect.msu.edu.